Welcome to the BEASTwriter family, where social media engagement is encouraged. I am your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and today we're going to be discussing a lot of different things as it pertains to the Seahawks 49ers matchup. As you guys know, the 49ers lost this game and what really was a disappointing outing in all three phases. We can go ahead and talk about that, but when you talk about the San Francisco 49ers and what they have moving forward and what they have now, I think they're kind of in a transition mode to where they want to make the switch at quarterback. We've seen what happened in the second half. Obviously, people said that Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt with a calf injury. I don't buy that. I don't think he was hurt. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, when he was on the field and then all of a sudden you see Trey Lance rolling in the second half, people are wondering, oh, well, they're just rolling with Trey Lance now. And people are just going to say, oh, well, is Jimmy Garoppolo hurt because people are saying he's hurt? Well, he looked fine on the sideline. Let's not get it twisted. I mean, if he really had a calf injury, I mean, it's not like he was carted off the field like Trent Williams was, right? So there's a lot of different things when you go into it. And I tweeted all these things out. But again, I'm just going to wait till people come in because you guys want to know what I have to say. I haven't gone live in how long has it been? 3-4 days. And so I really want to talk about what's going on with the Seattle Seahawks and the 49ers matchup, how this affects the team moving forward. I think we can all harp on the loss, but what good teams do is they prove upon their weaknesses and then they also focus on their strengths. So there's a lot of different things in this ball game that I think happened, and it's not just you can't just blame one player for this outing. I mean, I'm just going to spit some stats for you guys. And again, if you guys just coming back from Levi Stadium, if you guys tailgating, listening to this on your phone, whatever the case may be, I know a lot of you guys and my family and friends are out there doing that. So you guys are like, we want to hear what you have to say. We're drunk right now, but we want to talk about the game because, they're drinking and drinking their sorrows away. So anyways, let me just tell you something. All right. So let's run down the stats. Jimmy Garoppolo went 14 of 23 for 165 yards. I think that was a 7.2 yards per pass average. He had one touchdown against one interception. He had a quarterback passer rating of 79.1, right? So that's not bad. I mean, that's not bad, but it's not great. And I think a lot of times when I always say is don't be a box score reader, I really mean don't be a box score reader, because if you're reading a freaking simple box score on your ESPN and NFL app, whatever the case may be, wherever you go to, when you check the stats, whether you're looking at fantasy football and look at Yahoo Sports app, whatever the case may be, you have to actually watch the game and grade the snap, right? That's what I do. I have my own grading system. So I grade the snap of every single player, whether or not he touches the ball or doesn't, right? Because again, that's what coaches do. That's what scouts do. That's what I do. And when you look at Jimmy Garoppolo's stat line, although it looks average, he really didn't look that great. I mean, take it into account, peeling back another layer of the onion to get to the core, then rolls in Trey Lance, right? Trey Lance rolls in second half, Trey Lance, right? He goes 9 of 18. And again, he was a little erratic, even for a rookie. I will say that, there's a lot of passes that was thrown behind him, or sorry, not behind him, behind the wide receiver or behind the target. And other times he would just try to use his talented arm strength to kind of rifle it in double coverage. What I'm seeing with Trey Lance's game is, although I said it since day one, yeah, he may be smart. He may have played in the same style of system, but again, there's a reason for him coming out of the FCS instead of the FBS. You're not playing FBS competition. And then if you're not playing against FBS competition, you're not playing against a Power 5 conference like the Nick Saban defense. And then that comes into the SEC. Then you're not going into the pro style defenses that you're facing. And then from that, then you're raising it another level to the NFL. So there's a lot of different layers of the onion to really get to the core when it comes to Trey Lance's game. So although he was a little bit erratic, I mean, 9 for 18 will prove that for 157 yards. You take he did score 2 touchdowns, right? He passed 2 touchdowns to Deebo Samuel, which is really nice to see. I like that connection. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But, final stat line where he has 157 yards, throws 2 touchdowns against 0 interceptions. And the thing that I like most about Trey Lance more than Jimmy Garoppolo, obviously, is his dual threat ability. I think what you saw with the Seattle Seahawks is, especially with Bobby Wagner playing the middle of the field, you saw him being the curl hook defender, but it's really difficult when you have a certain player like Trey Lance, a dynamic player like that, where all the NFL rules are dictated toward the offense. And basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to gain leverage wherever that case may be and gain competitive advantage. So if you see Trey Lance scrambling outside the pocket on a zone read, or if he keeps it and he scrambles and runs for a first down or close to a first down on 3rd and 4th or 4th and 2 or whatever the case may be, you will notice that these second level backers are afraid to hit Trey Lance head on. They're afraid to do it. Now, we did see it one time in the ball game, but outside of that, we haven't really seen Trey Lance get hit hard. And that's because Trey Lance is a different kind of a quarterback to where if you hit him in today's NFL, it's going to be a penalty. It's going to be a 15-yard penalty. So that's why when Kaepernick was playing, you saw Bobby Wagner just taking off or trying to take off Colin Kaepernick's head. You can't do that in today's NFL. And I think that's going to help out not only the 49ers offense, but also the defense, right? The defense was on the field way too long. I mean, way too long. They had way too many snaps, and you saw them getting torn down in the fourth quarter. That's what happens when a team is on the field and the offense is on the field that long, and your defense is the one that's holding you in the game. And ultimately, it's a 7-7 ball game at halftime. You're already gassed. At 7-7 halftime of a game, you know it's a defensive struggle. And you also know that at some point, those snap count, we talk about snap count all the time, that snap count is going to catch up in the middle of the third quarter, because in the middle of the third quarter, that's likely a fourth quarter type of a conditioning program that you're going to be conditioned to be in because you've been on the field for so damn long. So you saw them wear down, and you saw the Seahawks and Chris Carson and even Travis Homer just get these big runs, not like 20-yard runs, but you guys know what I'm saying, big chunks of yardage. You have 5 yards here, 4 yards here, 7, 9, 11 yards here in the second half, is because the Niners defense couldn't hold up. And that's just a dynamic of how the game was being played, right? It's when the time of possession. If you read my BEASTwriter Plus newsletter, I said it's going to be a defensive struggle early on. We've seen that, right? So it wasn't something that I wasn't anticipating. I expected it. And if you are a BEASTwriter Plus newsletter subscriber, you were expecting it too, because I said it, and you guys probably knew what would happen. This is what happens. I mean, you know, it's nothing that like that's going to be what I should say. It's nothing out of the norm, right? It's kind of like you kind of know how Pete Carroll kind of comes into Levi Stadium, and although I did pick the Seahawks to ultimately win this ball game, they did. I mean, I at the end of the day, it's like, you know what? If the Niners can't do anything to where they can't move the chains, or they have to use gadget plays to kind of make up for the run game, but which they didn't have to do today because my man Trey Sermon rushed really well in this ball game. Let's look at the stat line for Trey Sermon getting to that running game. Last week, we saw a lot of gadget plays to open up the running game. This week, not so much. I mean, Deebo Samuel only had 1 carry for 1 yard. So Trey Sermon had 19 carries for 89 yards, which led the team with a 4.7-yard average. That's really good for Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon was a player who I really liked coming out, drafted number 88 in the 3rd round overall, and he did a really nice job. I do like the dynamic that Trey Lance brings to the table in terms of his connection with Deebo Samuel. I think what you're seeing with Trey Lance to Deebo Samuel is different than what you're seeing from Jim Garoppolo to George Kittle. I think at some point, I think Trey Lance is going to go more toward Deebo Samuel as a security blanket, whereas Jimmy Garoppolo used George Kittle as a security blanket. And I think we're seeing that based on the targets alone. Let's look at Deebo Samuel. He led the team in 12 targets, right? Now, that's not to say that George Kittle wasn't targeted. He was the second most targeted receiver in this ball game, but that's kind of like every other game. He's always targeted, but he doesn't always come down with the catches for whatever the case may be. He had a touchdown in the end zone and he dropped it. But it was a good hit. I get it. But again, you get paid to make that catch, George Kittle. But again, it's easier said than done because it's not easy. So George Kittle finished with 4 catches for 40 yards. You're on my fantasy George Kittle fantasy football team. I was expecting a bigger game from you, George Kittle, and especially with you, Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk, you only had 1 catch for 15 yards. My goodness. If you add those 2 numbers all together, that's 5 catches for 55 yards. My fantasy football team sucks ass. All right. Luckily, I had DK Metcalf. I mean, but he fared a little bit better. 4 catches for 65 yards. I think it was a 16-point whatever average, and he had 1 touchdown. So that kind of saved me there. But again, my team freaking lost this game. Like I suck. My fantasy football team is garbage. I haven't won a game this year. I suck this year. Mainly because I have a lot of rookies. But hopefully you guys are doing a lot better than my fantasy football team. But no, there's a lot of different things. We're going to go ahead and talk about some things and get to your questions. I know there's a lot of questions in here. But yeah, there's a lot of different things that we have going on here. And again, how we're going to stay on topic with everything and moving forward is If you like what we have to say, if you have a question or something, please consider sending me those super chats. It really helps us stay on topic because, again, I'm doing this live stream and then I'm going to post all my thoughts on the BEASTwriter Plus newsletter. If you guys saw that 76-yard touchdown by Deebo Samuel, I'm going to go ahead and break that down for you on the newsletter. I'm going to talk about the cover shell. I'm going to talk about why Deebo Samuel was so wide open, and I'm going to talk about how that can be a game plan for the team moving forward. There's a lot of, again, pre-snap motion that plays into the role of what Trey Lance was looking at in his diagnosis and going through his progressions. And I'm going to go ahead and break it down brick by brick, as I always do in my newsletter. It takes me about, I don't know, anywhere from 8 to 15 hours on one depth piece that I write. But again, it's all worth it. And again, this is why you guys like to follow me and want something a little bit different or want something a little bit more other than just regurgitated, recycled news. I mean, anybody can do that. I mean, once someone puts it up, it's old news by the end of the day. So I like to take that information or that piece of information, break it down layer by layer by layer by layer, and really get to the core of exactly what happened, the good and the bad and the ugly when it comes to all coaches 22 film, which I do now have. So again, there's a lot of different things that I've been working on behind the scenes when it comes to the BEASTwriter Plus newsletter. Obviously, we will go ahead and talk about the Seahawks and the 49ers ball game. But another thing I like to point out, when it comes to the 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks game is the fact that, again, let's talk about that 76-yard Deebo Samuel touchdown. I don't have the coach's film yet. It hasn't come out yet, but I can tell you what happened. What happened was the Seattle Seahawks were running that coveted cover 3 defense, right? So you have 3 deep defenders playing the collective thirds of the field, right? And what happened, the field is 53 and 1/3 yards across. All right. So when you play that, you play the middle of the field, right? You have the middle of the field safety, and then you have your boundary cornerback on one side, you have your boundary cornerback the other one, and they're just playing deep, right? And then you have your 4 curl hook your 4 underneath defenders, 2 of them playing the curl flat, and that would be Jamal Adams. And then you have your 2 hook curl defenders. One would be Bobby Wagner. So what happened was Jamal Adams, who was playing the curl flat route, thought he had help over the top. What happened was that boundary cornerback opted to go for the wide receiver, leaving that whole side of the field from the numbers to the boundary wide open. And you can't do that. That's the number one cardinal rule you don't do, because you have to do the deepest, they say play deep to shallow, not shallow to deep. And what happens is Jamal Adams, that's not his fault. His responsibility was defending the curl flat. What happened was the guy behind him, who was supposed to be the boundary cornerback, gave up that leverage and gave up that split by then basically leaving his assignment, and that left Deebo Samuel wide open. I mean, wide open. Anytime someone leaves a third of their field and leaves that side of the field open, it's all for naught. It's going to be all over. It's game over. It's a non-issue. It's an easy touchdown, and that's what we saw. I mean, Deebo Samuel, heck, I could have ran for that touchdown. I mean, he was that wide open. It was like ridiculously. When you're up in the press box and you hear the announcer say, "Oh, he's wide open," it's like, there's no one probably within 20 yards of him, 15 to 20 yards of the receiver. And exactly when I'm up in the press box, that's anytime I hear wide open, I'm like, oh, yeah, he was way wide open. And that's what you saw, right? That's what you saw Deebo Samuel on that 76-yard touchdown. And he had a good game, man. Deebo Samuel, 8 catches, 156 yards, 19.5 yard average, 2 touchdowns. I mean, the guy is a beast, definitely playing at a first-team all-pro level right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the week, he ends up being the number 1 wide receiver in terms of receiving yards through the first 4 weeks of the season. So Deebo Samuel, for all the people who said, "Oh, no, we should trade Deebo Samuel for Deshaun Watson," I said, nah, you shouldn't do that. And all the people are like, "Oh, beast, you're right. We shouldn't trade Deebo. You're right. I like it. But yeah, thank you so much. All right. So thank you so much, Jimmy 5 Cushions, for the super chat and super sticker. I appreciate the love and support. He says, Kittle talks down Lance too much. Did again today. Well, there you go. There you go. I'm doing a live stream. I don't know what Kittle said yet, but what I do know is I'm pretty sure George Kittle, I think George Kittle is, I don't think it's a secret. I mean, he wants Jimmy Garoppolo as his quarterback. Obviously, George Kittle wants to win. Let's not get it twisted. I mean, if he had a choice of he's going to be like, whichever quarterback gives us the best chance to win, I'm going to be rolling. I don't care who it is, but I do care who it is. Come on. Football is a team sport, but it's also a personal relationship sport too, where, again, you build relationships with these players. If you played sports and you have, let's say, a player or a team captain, right, for the first 3 years of varsity or whatever the case may be, let's say high school, whatever, middle school, don't matter. And all of a sudden Joe Schmo comes in and you're like, the team is already used to one guy because you won with that one guy. And here's this new guy, and you're looking at this new guy thinking like, why the heck is this new guy in when we already have this one guy, and this one guy's winning? But, obviously, okay, he's so, but he's still my quarterback. It's like Terrell Owens says, he's still my quarterback. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Again, I said there's going to be a toxic locker room dynamic because, again, there is some type of a shift that's going to happen. And despite what anyone says, anytime you have, let's put it this way, there's a reason why Bill Belichick, the greatest coach of all time, Bill Belichick, decided to release Cam Newton and start Mac Jones. Because he didn't want a toxic locker room dynamic. That is the reason why he let Cam Newton go. And Cam Newton went on air with his father, had an interview, and said the same exact thing. Echoed my analysis. This is the same exact thing with Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance now. Now you're having a cultural shift within the team where it's like, okay, so what are we going to do? We want to win, but then we want to be younger, but then we also believe in Jimmy Garoppolo that he can be the guy still because he got us there just 2 years ago. So where do we stand with this? And then here's Kyle Shanahan, the one that's making all the decisions, and all of a sudden says Jimmy Garoppolo has a calf injury. That's why we rolled with Trey Lance, or he gave us the best chance to win. Whatever vanilla answer he wants to give, let's not get it twisted. At the end of the day, all right, at the end of the day, let's just not joke about it. There's nothing wrong with Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, think about it. If you were on the sidelines and you saw Jimmy, the first thing I would do, which I'm not a beat writer with the team anymore, obviously. My office isn't there anymore. Obviously, I checked out. But what I would do when a player was injured, the first thing I do is I would walk up to them and just check them out. Like, hey, man, like, you ain't hobbling, bro. Like, what's going on? You cool? No joke. I'm not going to name a 49er player, but there was a 49er player who was out with an injury. I'm not going to say the injury because you guys can probably put 2 and 2 together if you guys did enough research on it. And this guy was jumping in the locker room, like jumping as high as he can in the locker room. And on the injury report, he had a fractured ankle or whatever. It wasn't a fractured ankle. It was something with his ankle. I'm not going to name what it was. It was something bad. And it's like, yo, bro, like if I had an injury like that, I wouldn't be hopping around and dancing around like that, bro. I'm just saying, I don't think there's an injury. I think there was a cultural shift within the mindset of Kyle Shanahan to where he says, you know what, we need to make a shift from Jimmy Garoppolo to Trey Lance now earlier than expected because our record doesn't indicate like we're doing too well. And I want to salvage our season in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, the first 4 quarterbacks who are rookies who were thrown into the fire like Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, you name it. These guys have all struggled, but that comes with the growing pains. Why not throw in this quarterback into the mix and see how he does? And we'll just say that Jimmy Garoppolo has a calf injury. Do you really think Jimmy Garoppolo has a calf injury? I better see some ice on that calf post-game. I mean, right now. I better see some ice on that calf post-game because I don't see an injury. Look at Milf Hunter. Thank you so much for the super chat and super sticker. Appreciate the love. He says, Jimmy benched calf injury is fake. Yes, I agree. I'm not going to say it's not fake because look at, if he was hobbling like, oh man, yeah, you know, my calf after the game, then yeah. But you really think Jimmy Garoppolo has a calf injury? Come on. Nope. It was the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo was not getting it done. They rolled with Trey Lance, and that way it saves the media the time and effort to be like, oh, well, he's just playing because he has a calf. No, bro. Trey Lance was playing because Kyle Shanahan wanted him to play. If there was no quarterback controversy, and if this was a do or die game, if this was a game for all the marbles, for the Super Bowl win, for let's say if this was a KC Super Bowl with the 49ers just 2 years removed from getting there. And if this was that ball game, you don't think that Jimmy Garoppolo would stay in that game? He didn't look injured to me, regardless. But you don't think he'd be playing? Come on. Come on. Everyone's talking about it. That's the whole thing that everyone's talking about. Yeah, the 49ers lost. But let's talk about the real issue moving forward. Trey Lance. That's who we should be talking about. Trey Lance. And we should be asking the players, what are your thoughts on Trey Lance? We like him. He's young. He's very talented. We can see why he drafted him up, why we wasted 3 first-round draft picks to go up and get him. But he's kind of erratic with his throws. He's kind of inaccurate. He doesn't have the touch that Jimmy G does on these balls. That's the difference between Jimmy G and Trey Lance. He doesn't go through his progressions as well. But then again, he's only a rookie. Do you think this 49ers team is a playoff contender the way they played today? They lost 2 games at home, back to back. You tell me if this team's a playoff contender, because I don't see it, at least not right now. And that defense, I don't think that defense can hold up. They lead the league in defensive penalties, guys. The San Francisco 49ers defensive backs lead the league in defensive penalties for defensive pass interference. And with that being said, let's peel back another layer of the onion to get to the core. Let's check out my beast receipts. What did I say? I said once DeForest Buckner left in 2019, was traded off, I said the defense is not going to be the same anymore. Oh, we have Armstead. We're going to draft Javon Kinlaw. We're going to get that guy. He's a freak. What I say about Javon Kinlaw? Check the receipts. That's why I'm his biggest supporter. That's why he calls me his biggest supporter. And here we are. Last I checked, I think he got hurt today's game, right? He's been dealing with a knee injury, got hurt. People say he's going to rack up like 10, 13, 15 sacks, be this perennial all-pro freak, right? Because he has muscles and the guy's big and strong. Guy can't stay healthy. Now, that's not to say he's not going to be good, because we have seen flashes of his Pro Bowl potential. But again, consistency is key, and so is durability, my friend. So check the receipts. I said it, and I'm sticking to it, and it's cashing in another receipt. I mean, how many beast receipts do you want to be right about? I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. MILF Hunter says, thank you so much for the super chat and super sticker. Says, Jimmy got Kittle killed again. Looks like ACL. Yeah, if you guys missed this play, it was a play where Jimmy Garoppolo threw to George Kittle. I believe it was in the flat. And the announcer, I think it was Mark Schlereth, because it was on NFL on Fox, right? So the Fox analyst was Mark Schlereth. He was like, George Kittle must have legs like Gumby for him to be okay after that wallop of a hit. Like Gumby, bruh. Like, that's how bad that hit looked. It was a hit stick and a half. And it looked like George Kittle, yeah, it looked like the ACL. I don't know. It could be the torn meniscus, or he didn't tear his meniscus, but it could have been a meniscus injury. It could have been a high ankle sprain. It could have been bad. It looked bad, bro. Like, it looked like, let's put it this way. If he reenacted that, you couldn't. There's no way to reenact that type of an injury. And we saw this against Budda Baker. When Budda Baker came to Levi Stadium, everyone called him a dirty player because, again, like Milf Hunter just said, Jimmy Garoppolo let him out to dry. Let him into the defender. And that's the number one thing you don't do. You want to protect your receiver. You don't throw him into harm's way, bro. You don't throw high where the guy has to jump and get it and then gets undercut underneath. Like what happened with Budda Baker. Like when it happened again today against Seattle. Division rivals. The division rivals, they know what's coming. And they know Jimmy Garoppolo has a tendency to make these throws. So you got to protect your top investment. You can do that. So, yeah, I saw that, and it looked bad. It looked bad, but he came back in the game. It's George Kittle. What do you expect? George Kittle's a beast and a half. Yeah, the Niners just look horrible. I don't know what else to say, but the Niners just did not look good. They lose this game 28-21. They tried a valiant effort in the end. Obviously, Robbie Gould was out of this ball game. For those who don't know, Robbie Gould got hurt during pregame warmups. That allowed Mitch Wishnowsky to sub in because they didn't have anyone else on the active roster who was able to kick field goals in a bind, and that kind of hurt them, right? Because Mitch Wisnowski missed a field goal early on, and instead of taking up what was it? What would be a 10-7 halftime ball game, they go in with a 7-7 tie. So that's going to hurt. I think Robbie Gould probably, if he got hurt today, I mean, he'll probably be day to day depending on the injury, but I don't know. He could have pulled a groin. It couldn't be it could have been a freak accident where it was like he sprained his ankle or something, unless he planted wrong on his left foot. And maybe that happened, and maybe had his ankle sprain. But I'm thinking it's kind of like a groin injury, like a soft tissue injury. That's my thinking. But I don't know. We're going to find out. We're going to find out what he had. But yeah, that's not very good. That's not very good. Thank you so much, Big Dez, for the super chat and super sticker. He says Jimmy throws over the middle and checks down. Yeah, he does. He does. He's captain check down. If you haven't noticed by now, Jimmy Garoppolo is captain check down. All right. And everyone who said, oh, Jimmy got us to the Super Bowl, check my Beast receipts. What did I say? In my Beast receipts in 2019, right after the Saints game, I said, yeah, everyone's calling, oh, he's a top 10 quarterback. I'm like, nah, he's good. But let's hold back. What's getting them to that point? What's making them win is that stout defense backed up by a strong rushing attack. I mean, if I had keys to the Ferrari, I don't want to screw it up. I don't have to. I don't have to drive fast. Just don't screw up the car, bro. You're good. And so this is what we're seeing. Jimmy 5 Cushion says, thank you so much for the super chat and super sticker. It says Warner wearing cap jersey at post-game presser. Well, there you go. Does Warner want Colin Kaepernick in his post-game presser? That'll be interesting. Bring back Colin Kaepernick. No, I don't think that'll ever happen. Just FYI. I remember going into the office. I was the first one in the office, and Colin Kaepernick comes into our office, and we interview Colin Kaepernick, and it was when he requested to be traded, and he was supposed to go to Denver Broncos, and then all of a sudden, he's excited to play the 49ers because that trade didn't go through. I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited. You are not excited, bro. Like, if I was requesting a trade and I couldn't get out, am I excited to be back with my former employer that I wanted out from? No, because it was toxic, bro. I didn't want to be here. But to save face, I'm going to say, yeah, man, I'm excited. Oh, man, I love it. Oh, it's great here. I mean, did you request a trade? Oh, yeah, but, I'm excited to be here. What? That doesn't make sense, dude. Doesn't make sense. Anyways, I think we're just going to go ahead and wrap up this stream. But then there's a lot going on, again, that we can talk about when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers, the Seattle Seahawks. They lost this game. It was a 7-7 ball game, and the Seahawks just totally dominated them in the second half. It was a game where it was a defensive struggle early on, something I predicted. And then they rolled with Trey Lance, and you saw the 49ers offense pick up. You saw them push the ball downfield. You saw dynamic of shift when it comes to when it comes to the Seahawks defensive scheme. You saw them kind of bail out a little bit. They're playing what I would like to call somewhat of a robber scheme. All right. So I'm going to break down what a robber scheme is in the BEASTwriter Plus newsletter when my Monday morning quarterback issue comes out tomorrow. If you guys have yet to do so, please be sure to subscribe to my BEASTwriterNFL.com newsletter in the description box below, or you can see it on the ticker. We are already up to, I think we're at 143 subscribers right now, and only 1 month time. So we're killing it with the subscriptions. If you guys want a little bit more, a little bit of what I like to offer, it's kind of like what the Athletic does with their monthly subscription. You get the same exact thing, only you get 49ers, you get fantasy football, you get prop bets, you get it all. Here in the BEASTwriter family. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I am going to go ahead and get to those right now. Thank you so much for all the super chats, all the super stickers, and thank you for tuning in to this live stream as we keep things Beast 100 all the time. I hope that next week will be a better outcome. Unfortunately, until things change, I don't see that happening. That'll be it for this podcast. Peter Moa, thank you so much. I see you. leaving the comments here. And as always, I appreciate all the love. Aloha for now. That's it for today. BEASTwriter out.